Welcome back, you lucky NH Unscripted fans. We know that if you can't be with the one you love, honey, you're loving the one you're with. Yeah, baby, that makes me Steven Stills-like host Ray Dudley. Woo, we are coming to you from the not-so overly ostentatious digs of the WKXL studios, deep in the heart of Concord. You know the drill. Get out your own Nehru jacket and paisley bell-bottom pants and platform shoes today. Yeah, because we're doing it deep. We are trucking on. We are coming to you 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. And, I need to thank my sponsor. Yes, Lakes Region Fence, LRFence.com is their URL. They, if you need a fence, you're getting kind of late in the season, although I did talk to Matt the other day, and he said that they are putting up fence into January. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I don't get it. Fencing in January, can't do it. However, go out to lrfence.com. There's a button out there where you can get a free estimate. You know us old folks. We like coupons and free things. Yes, we do. So you can get a free estimate. Matt will give you a jingle and set up a time where you can go out. Now you can be first in line for the spring. Yeah, he'll do your pickleball court. He'll do your dog run. He'll do your privacy fence, commercial fencing. They do it all. lrfence.com. Lots of stuff out there for you to see. lrfence.com. We appreciate you, Matt, so much. All right. This is our Christmas show. Special stuff we're doing for you today. In studio with me is Kevin Collins and Kate Collins. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you both?
Excellent.
Great.
So, we are about to get into our Christmas. How would you describe what we're about to do? I'll leave it to you.
It's an old-fashioned radio show, a kind of a film noir. It's a radio show that was inspired by Garrison Keillor's Guy Noir, and it's a bit of a fun thing. I actually wrote this years ago. At least the first half was written many years ago, and the second half I wrote during COVID for high school. I started writing plays when I was teaching at an all-girls Catholic school in Boston because there was just so few plays for all girls, and so I just got into the habit of writing plays for women, for young women. And when I came to St. Thomas Aquinas in Dover, which is a co-ed school, it became more difficult to write a play that had a plot. It was easy to write plays that had little vignettes. And so I wrote a play called Fast Cars and Elvis, and it was a series of vignettes about cars. And Elvis was sort of this shadowy figure who kept showing up every now and then. And one of the scenes that I wrote was this. It was called Spike Slotnik. It was called Car Noir, after a Guy Noir. And so when you and I talked about, this radio show, I said, well, this would be a perfect opportunity to bring Spike back and do some of the silly non sequitur type humor that you and I love so much.
Yeah.
Where the lines, a non sequitur, if the audience doesn't know, is a kind of humor in which the what follows doesn't make any sense. So non sequitur, that what follows afterwards doesn't make any sense. Woody Allen was big on that. Steve Martin in his early days, he was big into non sequitur humor, so that's a lot where that came from.
So where do you think the appeal comes from for these kinds of things?
Radio has, over the years, when I was growing up, it was top 40, and you had these DJs, very much like the way you opened this show.
Thank you.
With that, here's the big boss town, the big boss sound kind of character, kind of thing. And we listened to the top 40. But over the years, AM radio has become more talk radio. So, I think people have become more inclined to listen to other people talking, which is unusual, and because it's such an audio media, it's you can't do the visual humor, so you have to rely on the language. And it's kind of fun to do that.
Yeah, yeah. So as opposed to like slapstick, which is so visual,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you could hear slapstick, I guess, on the radio, but it doesn't come across as brilliant as just the language does.
Yep.
So I was talking to someone the other day about all of the older stuff that it is old. I don't want to necessarily say older, but like the Jack Benny Hour and even things like the Lone Ranger. It's not comedy, but those shows. I think part of it is that you have to use your imagination. It's like reading a book.
Yeah.
You have to use your imagination as opposed to being visual, right?
Yeah.
I mean that's part of it. It's like an experience, like a Disney World in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not to get too intellectual, but Marshall McLuhan.
Get intellectual.
Okay, Marshall McLuhan was a Canadian professor of the media who and his famous line is, "The media is the message," meaning that that's not the content that matters. It's the media that matters. So that our views of things change because of the way that we receive information. So TV for him, of course, the idea was a vast wasteland. It was, we became sort of nonlinear, you might say. That TV just sort of took us out of the realm of, linear time. So it became and you watch TV and you go from channel to channel. You're in the sci-fi, you're in the future. Then you're in History Channel. You're in the past, and then you're watching CNN and you're in the present.
Oh, I get it. Yeah,
but
yeah.
Radio does, as you say. He called radio a hot medium because you had to, as you said, you had to use your imagination. You had to listen, and we were much better at listening, I think, in the past. When people talk about the Lincoln-Douglas debates. I mean, they debated all day, and people listened to them because they were just so used to hearing things. And I think that back in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, people got used to listening to things on the radio.
Yeah. So that happens with books too. I don't. Not in that instance like that, but I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say when like a movie comes out or a TV show based on a book or something, you go, "Oh, that's not how I pictured that character."
Exactly. Yeah.
And a million people all had a different vision of what that character looked like.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, both Kate and I taught English, and one of the things Kate used to tell her students is, don't watch the movie. Not because that's cheating, just because that's somebody else's vision of what.
That's
what
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's a rich thing. I mean, that's a very rich thing to have your own impression, your own image of what, because there's a lot going on chemically and psychologically in your head as you're forming these images of what the character, what's going on. They throw in the sound effects of a car or a door or footsteps, and your mind is compiling all these and making this its own movie, basically, just in their freaking psyche,
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
There was another writer who talked about what he called deep reading, and I think for people who really are good readers, they don't see the words on the page. It's sort of like the words get immediately translated into images in their heads.
It's like they're seeing a film in their heads, and if you go even deeper, I think you're living with it. You're living with the main characters.
So are you talking about narrators, like book narrators?
No, just when you're reading.
Just the experience of deep reading. You're living it.
The words disappear, in a sense, and an image replaces it. And one of the things when I was teaching English, you could tell that there were some students who, when they were taking a quiz or a test about a book, they would be staring off into space because what they were trying to do was remember where it was on the page. Oh yeah, I remember that was on the right-hand page down the bottom. And so, and they weren't particularly good readers. I mean, they weren't bad readers. It's just that they didn't have the capacity to see the image in their heads. Whereas some kids, they would just rewind the movie in their head. Oh yeah, I remember that. That happened in the beginning, and it was after the guy had said this or done this. Whereas, as I say, the reader who struggles tries to remember what the words were that he or she saw on the page.
It's funny you say that, because when I'm memorizing lines for a play, and then once we start rehearsing, that's how I see them. I can see the page, I can see where the line is on the page, and it's like a teleprompter for me. Mm-hmm. I can watch as it's going by, which is, in a way, it handicaps me, but in another way it frees me because I know where I am and I know what it looks like and I know where I'm supposed to be. But if I get out of that order, I'm like, wait. Where am I on the page? Oh man,
That's a great coping skill.
Yeah, thanks. Hang on, we're gonna put a pin in it right there. When we come back, Kevin, Kate, and I, and Andrew, the man behind the board, we're gonna be doing Slotnik, our Christmas special. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to NH Unscripted, you lucky fans. Yes, we are your Sunshine Superman, and that makes me your Donovan-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios. My God, it's cavernous in here. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM for the folks in Concord, 101.9 for you beautiful souls in Manchester. All right, as promised, we are going to give you our Christmas edition. Kevin, the name of this?
The Further Adventures of Spike Slotnik, Private Detective.
All right, my friend.
Happy holidays, and welcome to The Further Adventures of Spike Slotnik, Private Detective, Christmas edition. But before we get to our Christmas story, and by way of introduction, allow us to engage in a bit of a flashback. It's 1949, it's summer, and our intrepid hero is hard at work. And so, we turn our story over to him.
It was one of those rare evenings in the city when the combination of the dust and the smog and the raw sewage blended together to make that perfume known as New York. New York, the city that'll break your heart, chew you up, and spit you out. And if you're not real careful, it'll bust a rib or two. And then just when you think you've recovered, it'll hit you in the face with a shovel and call it a kiss.
Enough already, you're making me sick.
New York, that special town. In the rain, it makes its own gravy. Off in the distance, a solitary saxophone wailed under the 39th Street L, serenading the lonely and the destitute and disturbing the slumber of the roosting pigeons. I was alone that night. Alone, that is, unless you count Peaches. I was never certain if Peaches counted. She sure as hell couldn't type. But what she lacked in intelligence, she more than made up for in feeble-mindedness. I'll say one thing for Peaches. She had moxie. A terrible soft drink. Made her breath smell. I've been looking in the classifieds all night. I needed a set of wheels badly. The wayward wife I'd been trailing for a jealous husband all week had suddenly decided to head for Chicago. I'd have spent the money to follow her in a cab, but the rent was due, and the landlord seemed to think this building belonged to him just because he owned the deed and the title, and his name was carved in stone over the front door. I'd made lots of calls to people with cars for sale, but no luck. Even in this city, it never ceases to amaze me how surly some people can get just because you phoned them at 3 a.m. One prospect, however, seemed promising. I left a message and was waiting for a call back. In the sound of the woman's voice at the other end, I heard a whisper of a promise that might have been desire. Or it might have been the croup. It had been going around that summer. When the phone rang, I knew my wait was over.
Goldstein and Slotnik Detective Agency.
That's me, Slotnik. Spike Slotnik. Goldstein wasn't exactly a detective, more like an accordion player. Bar mitzvahs were his specialty. I kept him on mainly because he owned the desk.
Is this the party to whom I'm speaking? Yes, ma'am. Just a moment, please. And whom shall I say is calling? It's the lady with the car.
Slotnik. Uh-huh. 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 Nope. No dice. I'd rather meet someplace more public. A guy in my business can't be too careful. Someplace wide open. Yeah, how about Yankee Stadium? Yeah, between second and third base. Where Phil Rizzuto plays. Uh-huh. Gotcha.
Oh, Spike, are you sure it's safe?
Safe ain't the name of this game, baby. Never was, never will be.
Promise me you'll play it safe this time? Promise me you won't take nothing that don't have driver's side airbags and anti-lock brakes.
You know those things ain't been invented yet. Besides, baby, save some of that concern for your husband. Remember him? That guy who built that love nest for you on the Upper East Side?
Aw, Spike, honey, you know Fred hasn't been the same ever since that freak accident at the tricycle factory. And a girl like me, she needs something more than a guy that can only slap his fingers on his arm and pull on his ear all day. Sure, he's great at charades, but a girl needs something more.
We could have been good together once, Peaches. We could have made beautiful music together. You on the tuba, me on the tambourine. But it wasn't meant to be.
I know, Spike. I know. I've tried to leave Fred so many times, but something keeps pulling me back. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's that 40-foot chain he's got tied to my ankle. I don't know.
You're right about one thing, though, baby. This could be dangerous. I'd better pack some heat.
They were all out of heat at the drugstore, so I got you some Bengay instead.
Thanks, kid. My feet will be killing me by the morning. And I just want you to know, Peaches, I appreciate you looking out for me. You're a sweet kid, and don't ever forget that. It took me a while to catch up with my rendezvous. Either they had moved Yankee Stadium or my last bar fight left me reeling more than I had imagined. But a concussion meant nothing to a guy who'd landed at Normandy in '44 and who'd had 2 voluntary lobotomies before his 12th birthday. As I came through the tunnel behind the visitors' dugout and stepped onto the holy ground that had been consecrated by Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio, I saw her. She had curves that would not quit, lines to die for, and a sultry look that sent my temperature into the Kelvin range. No, not her, the car.
Are you Mr. Slotnik?
Spike. What should I call you?
You can call me Widow Douglas.
What do your friends call you for short? Widow Douglas?
Witty.
Witty?
Witty. Witty, witty, woo.
It's awful annoying.
Yes, I know. That's why I don't have any friends. You'll be my friend, won't you, Spike?
Doesn't pay to have friends in this business, honey. Just clients.
Well then, maybe I should become one of your clients. You can help me find whoever killed my husband after we agree for a price on this car. Cigarette?
No thanks. I'll take a light, though.
Light? But no cigarette?
To see the car better.
I've got a flashlight right here.
She's a beauty, all right. Rides a bit low in the back, though. What do you say to 600?
Make it $675, and I'll throw in a set of snow chains and a baby on board sign.
Keep the chains and call it 6 1/4.
Deal.
Deal. Let's shake on it.
That reminds me, Early Wynn is pitching for the Cubs this weekend.
The old spitballer himself.
I've got a ticket for the game along the first baseline. I thought maybe you could use it. I'll throw it in for free.
Thanks, babe. Can I ask you one more favor?
Yes, dollface.
Could you open the trunk?
What do you need to know about it? It's got a spare tire, a jack, a tire iron, 14.3 feet of cubic feet of space, a set of flares, and...
There's just one thing I need to know, sugar.
Yes, Pumpkin.
Whose body is in there?
Aw, you don't want to know that, Sweetums.
Not me, maybe. But Sergeant Kimball of New York's finest is gonna be awfully curious.
Ma'am?
You rat! You stinker! You stupid head!
Guilty as charged, sugar. I think if you take a look, Sergeant, you'll find the late Mr. Douglas, one Oliver Wendell Douglas, in the trunk of that car. That's why it rides so low. Oh, and there's a spot of blood in this baseball ticket. I'll wager a month's salary you'll find it matches Douglas's.
I just gotta know one thing. How did you know?
I first became suspicious when you tried to offer me that baby on board sign. Why does a widow with no kids have one of those? You hated your husband because you couldn't have children, and it was his fault. And then there was that line about the Cubs. Oh, you're smooth, kid. Very smooth. How did you know I had a soft spot for spitballers? And how did you know I was headed for Chicago?
Doesn't everybody like the Cubs?
They're in the National League, baby, and this town is strictly American League.
There's the Giants and the Dodgers. They're in the National League.
Shut up, you. I finally realized that you're the dame I've been tailing all week. That's how I even knew I was going to Chicago. You figured I'd drive the car with your husband's body in the trunk all the way to the Windy City, where the cops would be waiting for me. You wanted me to take the fall. But Spike Slotnik doesn't fall for anybody, not even a good-looking dame like you. Sorry, kid, but you're going away for a long time.
Will you wait for me, Spike?
Hang on, Sloopy, hang on. Woo, cliffhanger. We will be right back. Part 2 coming up. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. We are midway through our further adventures of Spike Slotnik, Private Detective, Christmas edition. We are going to continue.
Will you wait for me, Spike?
If there's one thing I've learned in this business, it's never trust a husband killer.
Why not?
I don't know. It's just one of those things you learn. Take her away, Lieutenant. Well, it looked as if I wasn't going to collect the rest of my retainer from old man Douglas, so I took his car in trade. When August came, Peaches and me took a long vacation. I guess I thought I owed her something. So we took the car and drove out to the desert, to Las Vegas. I still had the widow on my mind, though. There was a lot about her I could never forget. Her hair, her eyes, the way her lips moved when she talked. But me and Lieutenant Haney, the DA's office and the coroner, we all forgot about one thing. We all forgot about old man Douglas. But the hot desert sun never forgets.
Spike, what's that smell?
Just a bit of New York still with us, kid. Just a bit of New York.
Oh, Spike.
Old man Winter was settling in here in New York City, plunking his big fat keister right in the middle of Manhattan, resting his stinky feet at Staten Island and sneezing all over Jersey. On top of that, business was lousy. Crime was way down. There were fewer missing persons to look for, or wayward husbands to follow. Cripes, for a place known as the city that never sleeps, it sure does hibernate a lot. And don't get me wrong, I love this crazy old town no matter what season it is. After all, snow, slush, and ice is just nature's cream cheese, spread all over the bagel known as the 5 boroughs. And the occasional murder? Well, that's... cream cheese and ketchup, I guess. But Christmas was coming up fast, and I hadn't figured out yet what to get Peaches or how I was going to pay for it. Never mind you, Peaches and me, we never... I had too much respect for that ring on her finger. The one she got for winning the Army Nurse Boxing Championship on Okinawa in '46. Plus, she was married to Fred. Fred the Spaz. No, it's not an insult. That's his name. The Spaz. I think it was Armenian or Dutch or something. I never asked. And me? Well, I'd been married twice. More about that some other time. Anyway, Peaches was out of the office for a while. Probably Christmas shopping for Fred. I knew it was going to take her a while as always. Fred was fond of hard-to-find gifts. Empty tubes of Ipana toothpaste. Glove compartments. Stuffed penguins dressed up like Groucho Marx. That sort of thing. Which left me to hold down the fort. Alone. So I shouldn't have been surprised to hear a knock at my office door just as I was heading for the can to read the sports pages. Yeah, it's open. Now this I did not expect. Standing there was a big fat guy with a white beard and a red suit. Nah, not Santa Claus. A guy from the Salvation Army. I figured maybe someone had stolen his collection bucket and needed help finding the scumbag. Yeah, can I help you? I'm kind of short of cash right now if you're looking for a donation. What came out of his mouth next floored me.
Hey, son. It's me, Jocko. Your dad.
Dad? I'd have never recognized him. Well, to be honest, I had no idea what my dad looked like. I didn't really remember him. You see, the only picture I had of him was one I drew with crayons in 3rd grade. I kept it in a frame on my desk, in case he ever showed up. So I always expected him to look just like that drawing. Arms of 2 different sizes, coming straight out of his chest instead of his shoulders. Big sticky out ears, and no nose. What a disappointment.
So, you miss your old man, Clarence.
First of all, don't use that stupid name you gave me. It's Spike. Spike Slotnik. Didn't you see the sign on the door? Secondly, besides knowing my real name, how do I know you're really my father?
You got a moon-shaped birthmark on your right cheek.
Ha! Yeah, you're wrong. Look, no birthmark.
Not that cheek.
Oh. Well, how would I know that? I never looked. And I'm not looking now. Some things are better kept under wraps. Well, briefs, as it were. I'll take your word for it. So, last I heard you were doing, what, 8 to 10 up in Sing Sing?
Actually, 11 to 12 in Talk Talk.
What's it? What was it? Grand larceny, embezzlement, manslaughter.
Playing the accordion and within city limits.
Well, you know what they say. Play the accordion, go to jail.
It's the law. Yeah, I know.
Let's get down to brass tacks. What do you want, Dad?
I need your help, son. I'm in a bit of a jam. Someone's trying to kill me.
Don't look at me. I'm not my father's keeper.
But a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush.
Maybe, but a rolling stone gathers no moss.
Please, son. Every cloud has a silver lining, and you can't judge a book by its cover.
Hey, that's no fair. That's 2. All right, just for that, I get 3 to make up for it. Let's see. Sorry, Dad, you can't put the cart before the horse because too many cooks spoil the broth when people in glass houses throw stones. We're done. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. That one's for free.
Son, I'm desperate.
After more than 25 years, you waltz in here and want my help? Keep dreaming, old man.
I'll pay you $200 a day plus expenses.
Dad, I've missed you so much. Okay, so what's this about someone trying to kill you? While we're at it, what's with the Salvation Army get-up? You reformed or something?
Nah, it's kind of a disguise. To be honest, I've been casing a fancy shop downtown for a job I'm planning. This is the only way I can watch the joint without arousing any suspicions. But the less you know about that, the better.
Okay. So you stand out in front of a store all day, ringing a bell and collecting donations for the Salvation Army.
Well, not exactly for the Salvation Army. For someone in need, though.
Dad, really? It's Christmas time.
How do you think I'm paying you?
All the nickels and quarters, I take it.
Afraid so.
The thought of lifting all that silver made me cringe. My back wasn't so good. You see, I'd picked up some shrapnel back in 45. Helga Shrapnel, one of the Shrapnel sisters. They were a singing group out of Rotterdam. How was I to know she was heavier than she looked? Not to worry. These days, Peaches does all the heavy lifting. Okay, back to your problem here. Any idea who's trying to kill you? Or why?
Not a clue.
So how do you know someone's after you?
They keep leaving threatening notes in my kettle. The last one was the kicker. It gave me the heebie-jeebies so much that I just left my spot and came right here. Here it is. Look.
A dozen eggs? A loaf of bread? Half-gallon of milk? This is a shopping list.
Keep reading.
2 pounds of sugar, half-dozen oysters, killed Jocko Slotnik, pound of bacon. God, that is weird.
Exactly.
Oysters are out of season. Not gonna find those anywhere.
What about the part that says kill Jocko Slotnik?
Nah, it's been on my shopping list for years. Wait, come to think of it, this is my shopping list. I recognize the handwriting. It's Peaches. She does all my shopping for me.
Hiya, Spike, honey. I'm back. What a day. I finally found exactly what Fred has been asking for. A Salvation Army kettle filled with quarters and cigarette butts. He's gonna be ecstatic. What?
You?
You?
Is it my turn? You! That was fun.
That's my kettle.
You walked away. I saw you. Abandoned property. And New York State General Law Article 5A subparagraph 17 subparagraph 4 clearly states, and I quote, finders, keepers.
I wouldn't argue with her, Dad. She's a JD.
Juris Doctorate?
Juvenile delinquent. All right, a cliffhanger. We gotta stop right there. We got 1 block to go. We'll finish it up when we get back and then tie in a beautiful bow for you. You are listening to NH Unscripted. I know, you feel lucky. I know. We'll be right back in a moment, all 4 of us. Welcome back to NH Unscripted. We are just about to finish up Spike Slotnik's Christmas special. Let's get right into it, shall we?
Even so, this dame, this Peaches, she's... I knew you were up to something, girly. She's been hanging around my station every day for the past 3 weeks. I thought she was casing the same pawn shop I was. Didn't know she was after my kettle.
And now it's mine. Or rather, Fred's. So, Spike, this is your dad, huh? Doesn't look a thing like his picture.
I know, right?
Must have grown a nose since the last time you saw him.
I just gotta know one thing. Did you put all these notes in my bucket?
Huh? Let me see. Oh, yeah. I was just throwing them away. Your kettle happened to be on my way downtown. Fred's love notes.
You mean the ones that say, honey, I'm gonna kill you? And when you least expect it, bang?
Yeah. And the haiku he wrote for our wedding anniversary. Stab, stabby, stabby. Stabby, stabby, stab, stabby.
Stabby, stabby, stab. I have to admit it, Fred's got a way with words.
Gets me every time. Right here.
So, you're not after me. You're not planning to kill me.
Oh, honey, if I was going to do you in, you'd be gone now.
Any chance of me getting my bucket back? I didn't think so. Well, son, it was nice catching up.
I suppose this means no $200 retainer.
Afraid not, kid. But I'll use it to buy you some Christmas presents. The kind like I used to.
Socks and handkerchiefs?
Socks and handkerchiefs. Merry Christmas, son.
Merry Christmas, Dad. And here, you can have this picture.
Oh. This is me, isn't it?
Yep, drew it myself.
Those were the days. Before I had a nose. Thank you. I'll treasure it forever. Bye, son. Bye, Peaches.
Bye, Dad.
Bye, Mr. Slotnik. Spike, if he had no nose, how did he smell?
Terrible. Just terrible. Merry Christmas, Peaches.
Merry Christmas, Spike.
And there you have it. Oh, our attempt at a little Christmassy atmosphere. Kevin, tell us about it, baby.
Well, the idea, as I said, the idea came from Guy Noir, which is a Garrison Keillor character that when he was doing the old Prairie Home Companion. When I begin to write something, I always start with the characters first. Some people like to start with the plot. As Stephen King always said, story first. But I always found that if you got an idea who your characters were, and you could practically, reel off their biography, even though it's a character that you created in your head, you wind up the play or the story writes itself. So that when I sat down to write this so many years ago, literally the jokes just came out. It wasn't like I sat down and planned them. It was, all of a sudden, I found myself laughing as I'm typing the damn thing because I just really didn't.
That's true.
I really didn't expect it to
Kate can hear you laughing in the other room. Is that what's going on?
Exactly.
Oh, Kevin must be writing again.
And what was great, but I will have to say that it's harder now to write at my age, in my 70s, than I did when I was in 30s and 40s. I just think I had more ideas in my head, and I got them all out on paper. And so now when I'm trying to write something, I'm searching for something. It's not I don't get inspired the way I used to, but that's I can still do it. And I intend to keep writing some Spice Slotnik things so we can bring them back and over the course of the next year or so, and see where Spike takes me.
The desert with a smelly car.
The smelly car, yeah. I will say that there were some lines that were kind of derivative of other jokes that I've heard. Other jokes of my own. I will say that I created some of the humor, most of the humor on my own. But there was one that I can tell you exactly where it came from. Was when Spike says, I was alone unless you count Peaches. I wasn't sure if Peaches counted. She sure as hell couldn't type. And actually, that is a takeoff of a line from, I don't remember, the old Firesign Theater.
Yeah.
And they had an album called Don't Crush That Dwarf, Hand Me the Pliers. And one of the lines was that there's a story that goes there. It's supposed to be Porgy Tire Biter. And he's with his friends, and he says, well, we're alone here. So, well, doesn't bottles count? Only up to 10, Porgy. And so that's where I got the line. She didn't count, but she could. I wasn't sure she could count, but she sure couldn't type. And
I had a friend. Speaking of comedy and all of that. All right, so here's how I'll do this with you. Ask me this question: what is the key to good humor?
What is the key?
Timing.
Right, exactly. Oh God, yeah, so once I had the characters in mind, it would also help that I kind of knew which students I was writing it for.
Yeah.
And I knew they could handle the lines, they could handle the characters, and because so much as you say the timing and the delivery is everything.
Yeah,
that humor really does come from, when do you interrupt somebody, or when do you emphasize the word? You've been an actor, and you know that you have a line, with a line like Shakespeare, and it depends upon which word you emphasize.
Correct.
So something like I couldn't wait to see her, or I couldn't wait to see her, or I couldn't wait to see her. You know, all of those. Each
It
one of those
affects the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything coming up after it.
yeah.
Because that sets up intonationally what people's expectations.
Yeah, exactly. And the dialogue really has to follow. Well, one of the things that I've often, you know, I get an amateur script when I used to read scripts for the Garrison players. It was always a bit odd to me that you would have somebody who thinks that when you tell a story in a play, they write narration. They don't write dialogue.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because so that instead of letting the story come out of the character, they try to tell the audience this is what the story is. The dialogue really should reveal the character and reveal the story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tell people the story. You show them. And I think that's one of the things that I always enjoyed writing dialogue, because that's the goal. You know, to not tell people this is what happens. You know, so that you get an idea what Spike is like from the way that he says things. You know, so you know, even though the only real narration or the only real is the voiceover, and that where he's saying, okay, I walked here, but. Spike's character comes out in his absurdity.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the thing about exposition. I was following someone on YouTube, and they were commenting about movies and how movies done incorrectly, they spend too much time in exposition. And what they should do is what you had said: show, don't tell.
Right.
Always show if you can avoid having to tell it. But poor writing, they go on and on and on. They give 5 characters exposition, and they're like, just show us.
Exactly.
It's film. Just show us.
Yeah, and the same thing with plays. And the other thing is to tell my acting students that with dialogue is different from conversation. In conversation, the first thing you say is the most important, because really the art of conversation for most people is really the art of interruption. Your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn. And so I'm waiting for there be a pause, or where I'm listening for those verbal cues that tell me you're just about done. And then I come in with the first thing I say. With dialogue, it's the last thing you say, because that prompts the next line. So that writing dialogue is it's important that the last thing you say is the crux of your dialogue.
So would you say that it's unnatural, that writing dialogue is unnatural, but the difficulty is making it seem natural?
Yes, yeah, very, very, very much so. If you ever watch My Dinner with Andre, you know, ever seen that movie?
I have not.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to. Ooh, did we make you Randy, baby? Did we? Mrs. Kensington. Woo! Well, you have been listening to NH Unscripted. Merry Christmas, everyone. You've been listening to us 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Thank you to my friends Kevin and Kate Collins. Thank you, sir. Andrew back there helping out. Again, Merry Christmas. We hope you love this. We'll be back, I guess, next year. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. All right, have a great one.